Thank you so much for hosting us, Rabbi. It's I don't know if the public knows the extent of our relationship. You've been my Rebbe for many, many years. I want to extend, of course, Hakarat HaTov, as I always do in private, but now in public, for really, really giving your time and also your knowledge in terms of what I love to know what happened before I came along. And I love to know the wisdom of how we attribute today's climate of the youth and their music, and how you're in education also. You have a girls' school. The KolRom I learn in every day, and I know how many hundreds of people are there in the KolRom. And you have so much experience and also teaching us. And what I'm coming from a Zemiros angle in this specific interview, but I feel Zemirot is also a way to discuss many different things that are happening in our generation, in terms of chinuch, in terms of my own children, how the memories I have of my parents at the Shabbat table, of a happiness in Yiddishkeit, and a lot of the stuff that we go through on a day-to-day with the Yetzer Hara and everything that we have dissipates when you're a happy person, when you're happiness and you have a joy of singing and you have a joy of Yiddishkeit in general. I feel it's a cure. I mean, he'll tell me more. I feel it's just a cure. The reason why I'm putting out this project, of course, Leilun Nishmat, my parents, but also to really give Am Yisrael a taste of Shabbat with today's sound. Of course, mostly older songs, but today's sound and today's way of delivering with the greatest arrangers of all time, Baruch Hashem, with Art Scroll doing a brand new Zemirot book, explaining to people. Sometimes you sing Yom Zeh Mechuba and Mikal Yomim over and over, and you don't really get into it because you don't know what it means. To give people a little more meaning and a little more inspiration, what's really better on the book. And I want you to elaborate of what you feel. First of all, what you feel about this project. Secondly, how Zemirot could be a cure for a lot of ailments today.
If you want to know what came first, what happened earlier, I'm going to bring you back when I was 18 years old, graduate from public school, didn't learn in the yeshiva, and I'm meeting for the first time my future father-in-law, but then my future Rebbe, my future Rosh Yeshiva, Rabbi Yehuda Davis. Rabbi Yehuda Davis is the famous of the earlier pioneers in America that started the Torah Moses. We were behind Opium Tells. He said Tells the first 10 Talmidim. He was the one that had a big yard in Kollel in White Plains of Lakewood Yeshiva before Rabban came in, about E.I. Rabban. And I had a conversation with him as an 18-year-old boy. The year was 1961. And surprisingly, the conversation, he asked me, what's my hobbies? I said, I love to sing. In those days, we didn't sing the Zemiros. We sang a little doo-wop, the doo-wop sound. And things like that. It was the late 50s. Those years, 1955 to 1960, my teenage years, and those are the years that was a popular hit. We sang in harmony and so on. And right away, Rabbi Davis, when I said music, you start to say music. You know that the Mabban says that music is the connection between the Kashmiris and the Ruchnias. It's the bridge. You can't call them Kashmiris. You can't call Ruchnias totally either, because they had Geshem to play. The boys, the sound, and so on. He says it's the connection, it's the chibur between the Ruchnias and the Ashras. And from that conversation, among other things we spoke about, but we started with music. He won me over totally. I was mesmerized by him, and that's how I eventually started to learn with him. Eventually went into yeshiva, and then years later, married his daughter. So it was all a big change in my life, and that's the starting point. The first conversation I had with him was about music. And he asked me, what do you need to be good in music? Is it pitch? Is it a sense of beat, a sense of rhythm? Is it the harmony, feeling, and part? And then you should know later, when we were in the yeshiva, one day he had a bonfire. All the boys were around. We started to talk to the boys about bonfires and so on. And let the thing, try to do history and where'd you come from? How'd you come to this yeshiva and so on? And he started to say, a lot of the Nagunim we have, we don't know where they're coming from. Why don't you make up your own beef? And he put us on a task to look at the Nach was a look at the suki with the hillel. And I made a few little
Umora menucha.
right. So more relief was one of them, yes. And their second Hasei Bemeni, make to a full.
Why did those talk to you? I'm just curious.
They were, first of all, through Mar Melechem, he talked a lot about it. That was the part that you always bought, but the debris, look at the wonders of the debris, feel the Chasa Hashem in the world, how Hashem is made deep, and so on. And then the Hasa Shekem and the David Melv who want to get away from the Shekem, he want to only have emes. And those things touched me. That's what I was looking for. I was leaving a secular world. I was a very secular person in the secular world. I'm leaving that world to come to the world of Torah and emes. And those type of pursuits really touched me. And we tried to make the good. It wasn't so great, but we made the good. And he used to sing them. B'zafka, those the that we, the boys, made. He used to sing those the they became the poem of the yeshiva. On Shabbos, we used to sing them all the time. Getting back to the present, we asked me a question, am I behind this project? You know how I admire you. I had to just mention to the Ayum that you came to the yeshiva 20-some odd years ago.
20
Of the Bacha, you weren't at all a singer then. You may have been working on certain things, but then you were totally a Bacha. You got engaged, and your wife, your Kala then, requested that I interview you to take her to be yeshiva because she wanted to be right here, and I owed her a little bit because she was one of the first rooms of the Elan Girls High School. So I had a little bit of a chiv to her.
Basically, no choice, right?
No choice, basically. And we interviewed you, we took you in. I'll never forget, we had a Shabbat brushes back then. And he was singing a niggun, and there was a big gadol next to me, Rabbi Yosef Rosmal. Rabbi Rosmal was the big gadol Talmidim of Rav Kotler, and he had a very big yeshiva. He is in Borough Park for many years, Zari Yosha. And a very big gadol, a person that helped me tremendously in opening Kyle and so on. And he was sitting next to me. He said to me, who's this? I said, Bachar in the yeshiva. This is Yuchid. This is not stand. This is not stand to do singer. Yuchid, he has a chush. He recognized in him then as a Bachar, 20-some odd years ago, a chush that he had a feeling for soul. And all the years he's been in the Kyle learning, and then a little by little he sought to get into records and music and famous and celebrity. I have to tell you, he's still learning in the Kyle. And many times he would ask me if he was called, let's say, to go to a hospital to visit people with dying, very sick people, if mechazik them, if he could take off from the learning. He was very meticulous and achroi and responsible about how he learned. That's why I have a special connection with him. The world may look at him as a celebrity, and maybe some of his negunim are not typically yeshivish. But I know this is a real Ben Torah. And that's why I like him. That's why I love him. In fact, we have a class every Shabbos in the shul that he's a member of. He comes, and we open up the class for him singing, just to get the mood of the boys. And there's no question that negunim, especially on Shabbos, we singing with your family, brings out a ruach that very few things can create that same spirit. Very few things in Yiddishkeit can create a feeling of love and a thing. And even when we have the Shalosh Shudas, so we had hundreds of boys there, plus Balabatim there. We always say a nigga. The singing is what makes it. The singing is what creates the ruach. And when I read with the boys, every few weeks I read with the boys Friday night, hours with them, and we have question and answer. We always break it up into Negunim, because the Negunim is the thing that really gets the boys into it, that gets the boys in spirit. And Yuzik has an amazing koyach that if you take a received by Sholem Melech, you should take a person with melancholy and depressed and give him chiyas and pick him up. How does music do that? I think the pshat is what the Ramban mentioned, what the Rabbi of Davis told me back then, that it's the chibur between the Ashvis and the Rasias. And once you start singing, it touches the ruchnias and touches the neshama that we have in us, our ruchnias in us. I think that music awakens us. So this project, I'm definitely behind the two reasons. One, it's an important project that we should notice the mirrors, and if you have help in singing the mirrors and understanding them better for the afro, and you singing that too, it's who's singing that. You don't only have a good voice, Yanka. You have a real heart. You have a real Yerushalayim in you that I know, that I watch it for 20 years, and I know you have it. And when you sing, you're putting a feeling of your Shema into the soul. So it's a little different than with regular popular music. Even though you're a celebrity in the popular music world too, and everyone loves you, all the people love you singing, but there's something miyuchad, like Rabbi Rosen told me, something miyuchad about you. And I don't know what it was that he's showing you, but he saw something. It wasn't just a voice. He saw something. Maybe it was the niggin you were singing and how you were singing it. But I'm really behind this project. I think it'd be a tremendous project. I think Clydesville needs a chizik. And the chizik of Bitun and the music and all you do is a beautiful chizik, especially if we have a seipel, a company in the music, I think you learn Perushim on the Zemiris and so on, and especially on Shabbos, that every mitzvah we do on Shabbos is multiplied, kipling for what it is during Kol. The same song that you're singing on Wednesday has a totally different feeling on Shabbos, Kedusha on Shabbos. Every mitzvah, the same mincha that you daven on Shabbos, Gemara says clear rayas, that the same mincha that you daven on Kol and you daven on Shabbos, well, Shabbos mincha has a totally different kedusha too. Every mitzvah daven on Shabbos, and including our eating and including our singing. Therefore, I think it's a beautiful project.
Thank you so much, Rabbi. Really, thank you. As far as since October 7th happened, I came back. I was there with my family on Sukkot, and I was there when the war broke out. And I'll never forget, Rabbi Diamond has been, just for everybody watching and listening, Rabbi Diamond has been really like my second father when it comes down to his advice, only because Rabbi Diamond also is very authentic with me, and I want somebody to tell me straight. This is right, this is not right, And after October 7th, I felt I was there with my family, and we ran out of Israel. We were very afraid. My kids, the sirens. It's amazing. Right, the night before October 7th, I had like tens of thousands of people singing in Ashkelon, and almost near the spot where, like the night before, I think it was, or 2 nights before, and everything, the war broke out. I run through Greece with my family and all that. I come back, and the koil starts, the Zman starts, and I feel a little guilty from running away. Yes, I'm learning. Baruch Hashem, I have the zechut to be Rabbi Diamond's Kollel for many years, and there's a certain beautiful, you guys came from Mincha, there's a certain Gan Eden when you're there. You just want to stay there. You want to learn and you want to be, away from, and I said, but I still felt guilty. So I went to Rabbi Diamond. I don't know if you remember, Rabbi, but you told me, now it's time for you to go back and to sing for the Jewish people. And I thought you were going to tell me maybe stay and learn. There is a certain time that people need song. And I kept on being in touch with you on the journey because I met so many of the parents and so many of the people that were involved in this tragedy. And I realized then, through the experience of going back and being with these people, a lot of them were not brought up like we are on Shabbat and singing and Zemirot. They just weren't brought up that way. So when you sit down and you explain to them a song, a Jewish song, and you start singing with them. This man, I'll give you an example. It was a man, I sent it to you afterwards. We just went cold turkey into this apartment building in Tel Aviv. His daughter was taken on the motorcycle with this guy, with the terrorist. And we said, you know what? We're going to go to his first stop from the airport. We're just going to go straight to his apartment. What are you going to tell a man whose daughter is taken by the worst Rashaim in the world? And I didn't know what you know what we say? We said, we're just going to sing. So we brought a guitar player, and we come up to the floor of the apartment building. It's like the 15th floor, whatever. And I see a guy pacing back and forth, pacing. And there's like a few media people trying to get into him. And so I asked somebody, who is that man? He's pacing back and forth. Oh, that's the father. He never has any peace. He's always pacing. He can't sleep. He can't be in his house. He comes in and out. And I started to get emotional just seeing this man pacing back and forth, looking down, not looking at any faces. I said, how am I going to say hello to this man? How am I going to, I was very like, in a place where I didn't know what to do. I had this guitar player with me. I got the energy to go over to him. So, you know what? I'm here. I came all the way from America. You don't know me. And we just want to sing with you. Chamesh dakot, give me a few minutes. I said, okay, please, no lachas, bli lachas. It's not, I just want to sing with you. A few minutes later, he comes over, he goes, okay, you know what, 5 minutes. My wife is very sick. She's deathly ill. She's sleeping. Do it quietly. We'll do it for 5 minutes. And he's basically telling me, I'll do you the favor and let you sing. I said, okay, I'll take it. I'll take the interest. We went with a few people in the apartment. I told the rabbi then, I'm saying it on video now for a reason, because it moved me and it moved Rabbi Diamond. What we did with songs, and not only me, it was a bunch of people with me, and the guitar player, it wasn't 5 minutes. You're talking about, we were there probably almost 3 hours. He didn't let us leave. He cried tears. To Vihisha Amda, I explained to him what HaKadosh Baruch Hu Matzilenu Miyadam, how every generation we face challenges. I explained to him the Shabbat table and what we sing on Shabbat. We sang some Shabbat songs. We tried to sprinkle in Rachem, Im Eshkachech Yerushalayim. So this guy was in tears. He got up and he hugged each one of us. And he said, I feel like you're my own children. The wife came out. She woke up. She came out. Unfortunately, she passed away before she saw her daughter Noah come out. But at the end of the day, I had told Rabbi Diamond, I say this now, is Rabbi Diamond also knew when to send me back. And he realized the power of music before I even realized it. The power that was just one example. The stories, I think we could write a book about just that week and a half visit of how song, you can't say anything to anybody who's suffering. And when you sing together, Shabbat or any time of tragedy that we're going through, I felt that, I don't know, you knew something maybe that I didn't know. And if you could explain, like, what got you to tell me, just go and just sing and just heal the people through music. What did you feel at that?
There's no question. We knew that it was a very difficult time for Klal Yisrael, in Eretz Yisrael especially. Hostages, soldiers that were wounded in the hospital. It was a hard time. I'm going to tell you something that happened today to give you the proper answer. Not today, yesterday. Yesterday was Shua to the Tammuz the fast. I get a text from a graduate from the high school girl. Very confused and very overwhelmed. Boys are. I'm very confused. Where I just listened to several classes. They had many classes in the community yesterday. And I don't know, everyone's emphasizing tears and crying. And I don't know how to balance that with the happiness and that. I don't know how to, very confused. I basically told her the commandment of Israel Hashem, the Sintra, is always, always in force. Even in times of sorrow and times of mourning, but Israel Hashem, the Sintra, is always in force. The Rashi, in the Sugya, but it's kept away, that Mashba and even an Oval that's mourning for someone in his family, but not believable, he has to be Samesh.
Wow.
During
Avelis?
Yes, even during Avelis. And he says, not a bit to be said. So it's to have a hanhaga of sayings, have a hanhaga of saying this. So hanhaga has to be the way we behave, and we don't do simchas, and we don't do certain thing. Yes, but inside, the person has to have a simcha. And furthermore, we know that a Navi is not Chal except to tell safe. Yaakov Avinu did not have Nevuah for 22 years that Yosef was the Sayes. Apapikain, we had Nevi'im that described the Holocaust of the KolRom Beis HaMikdash. You had Yirmiyahu describing how Nashim Rachmani is Berthel Bishnele Adayim. And yet, he had Nevuah. How could he have Nevuah in such describing such sorrows? And I heard that he asked this question one from Rabbi Asher, and he says the sorrows only went down to the body. But past the button, they didn't go. And in the heart of hearts, so the core of the person, it always had to be simple. And when you started to tell me that singing, you went to sing for the people, you don't suppose sadness or song. The truth is that, what does the singing do? It doesn't make you more sad. It gives you hope. It gives you a simple. It gives you a certain sense of talking about Hashem. It's going to be better. And that feeling of simple that one gets from the Gurum is the Batalka that all the clients will leave at a time of Sadot. So I wrote this lady, this girl who wrote, I said, I want you always to be happy. And the fact that you can't cry, she said she couldn't cry. Am I really bad that I can't cry? I don't feel it. I said, no. The idea is these 3 weeks is Zman of mourning, is Zman to become a better Yid, to be a better Jew, to live better as a Jew. You have to have tshuva and so on. That's what you're supposed to be inspire yourself to. And you have to, emotional tears was inspires you, not tears of atzbut. I'll say it, but sadness is never a mitzvah, ever. There's never time to be, because when you're atzbut, you can't function normally. And then your mind is covered and you can't think clearly and you can't think about chasna Hashem.
So what's the difference between atzvut and
mourning? And mourning. Mourning is anhaga of that we're sad, but in the heart of hearts, pass the button. Like Rabbi Yasha said, pass the button. There has to be at your core simcha always, because you're in the hands of Hashem. That's lost of God. But Rabban, why is there a commandment in mourning? Lord, to go not to tear your skin. He says, because we have to feel that he didn't really die. He went to a different world. He did a different makkah. He didn't really die. If you over mourn, it's just something that you don't really believe that there's nitzvahs and there's life after death and so on and so forth. You don't believe in the whole Sheretz HaChaim and so on. That the idea being that even though it was a Zman of terrible, it was a Holocaust, military Holocaust that took place in Eretz Israel, October 7, 2 years ago. But you went there and you gave simcha to them at a time when it was a chizik. True Nagunim, it's not just plain, happiness. It's emotions. It's getting their emotions and giving them, like you said, b'chaim, and these the bulim that give a person simcha and give a person b'sacha b'Hashem. And that feeling there's so great in the chama than that. And you use music as its best way to do all of that in the chama. And there's no question. That's what you did. And that's what I felt you could do. By being there both in hostages, both in hospitals where you had soldiers that were wounded and paralyzed and who knows what the rest of the life will be like. And you were able to sing there too. And I remember you sent me a thing when you went to Rabbi Grossman to the hospitals. I remember you sent me a video of that. And that's what you did. And you brought tremendous sin to the Klai Yisrael. And the Chum is the Klai Yisrael at the time when they needed their Chum more than ever.
I felt that these guys, a lot of them also, you see their families, not religious. When we went to Rabbi Grossman, he also has a long beard. And we start to sing and explain to them what the song are. They all want, meaning Rabbi Diamond always tells us, let's not take politics or judge anyone. We shouldn't judge anyone ever. But the point was that as soon as you start, the guy, by the way, had no leg and no arm. And he's under the cover, and I'm singing Ani Mami Ben Isim and the faster songs, and he's smiling. And somebody asks him a question, what happened to you? And also, would you do it again? After knowing it. And this guy with a smile on his face, Rabbi, I don't know if I ever sent you this WhatsApp a while back, a smile on his face telling him, of course I would do it again. Even for somebody who you don't even know, he went into a tunnel. He had a mission to go into a tunnel and try to get a hostage that they knew where they were. And they sent him. Now, they don't know who they're saving. I'm thinking to myself, we think we're better. These guys are on a so much higher level in terms of Mesiras Nefesh. Would I go into a grenade-filled tunnel for somebody who I never met and just embrace it and lose an arm and a leg and then say I would do it again? I walked out and said, Rabbi Diamond was always right in saying that let's understand that we're lucky to grow up the way we are with the Shabbos, with the Zemiris, with everything. But we have to look at the world as every Yid has such a specialness to them. I walked out, I said, look at our nation, to moister nefesh, mamash, and say you'll do it again. I don't know. I felt music was really a mission. I opened up the other day in your office, Rabbi, and I sent you a picture because I took a Ramchal, a sefer out of your collection. I never saw the sefer. I don't know what it means. I said, you know what? I'm going to open it to a page. And I opened it up, and it was about music. And I sent you a picture. of Adir Bamorim, I think it was called, this Sefer Derechal that I never heard of. And I opened it up, it was about music. And you've proceeded to write me a very deep text that music, I showed it to my wife, I showed it to the ones who are close to me, that music is telling, Rav Chal was saying that music is, like you said before, is maybe in higher olamot, fixing certain broken olamot, which I don't know exactly what that means, but the tzinorot. So when we sit around the Shabbos table and we just sing and we don't know the depth of the words that we're singing, we open up as mirrors, Ma yedidut menuchatech, at Shabbat hamalka, boy kala nesucha, levush bigdei chamudas. I don't exactly know the beautiful garments to kindle the flame, but you just sing and you close your eyes. Are you doing something much higher than you even know what's happening in the higher worlds?
No question, you're doing something in the sham, and maybe your conscious level doesn't understand what you're doing, but the mazle yada, the shaman knows. You ought to singing does something to us. It touches a kindness that we can't touch through other means.
And how important is for today's youth to listen to music that is not coming from a source of love songs. And today, I know the Rabbi touched on the 50s. Today is a different world of America with music and everything. And they get streaming. It's very easy to stream. And I try to tell my children, they're not going to listen to their father all day long, that I know. But how important it is to be sensitive to what we listen to and what we sing and how we...
I had to tell you a story. I was once on a trip with some girls way back, maybe 30 years ago. And they're all on a bus, and they all have earphones, and they had those, they used to have the
Walkmans.
The Walkman. They all have the Walkmans with earphones, and all in their own world. So I asked one girl, I'm trying to get a little conversation with them, do all their own world. I said, what are you listening to? Use it. Can I listen? Oh, what? And I put it on for a minute, and I promise you, the most foul language I ever heard. I couldn't believe that such things are illegal to put on a record. I didn't believe that. I didn't know that how bad it was. I haven't heard from the 50s. 1960 was last year. I basically heard anything like that. Okay. I said, how could you listen to this stuff? So we don't know. We don't pay attention. I said, but it's going into the neshama. The worst garbage in the world is going into the neshama. No question that was 30 years ago. The music business. I was 30. I was an electrician. That was in probably 1997.
The story?
The story. I went on a trip. It was the first trip we went to Israel with the Elan girls. We went after 2 years or something like that. After 2 years, or maybe the end of that year. Maybe it was 90s.
In Janine's days.
Yeah. And we went to Eretz Israel. And on the bus, traveling, they were all listening to this thing. And I heard the terrible language. Yeah, mamish nibul peh. And I was shocked that girls could absorb it. I'm saying regular girls, and they're good girls. And they're just listening to it like it's nothing, it's music. So if that's how it was 30 years ago, I'm sure that today probably is much worse in many ways. So there's no question that the mitzvah that one does when he's singing Kesupin, Koshin, Negumin, and Zemiras, and giving them a flavor, attracting them through music, to Kodesh, there's no question it's a tremendous mitzvah. You're giving them what to listen to.
I just want to remind you, Rabbi, the story that me and you had in Tiberia on the boat. And I like people to, you repeated it a few times, but every time you say it, first of all, I want them to know what that story was. I was singing at a bar mitzvah on a boat in Israel. And to see, I'd like to hear from the Rabbi.
We were on a boat in Tiberias, in the Kinneret, the Kinneret Sea, and we're celebrating a bar mitzvah from one of our close friends. And he's entertaining. And now it's late at night. We pull into the pier of the port, and we're parked, but we're still going. We're not stopping the party. Or we had a whole band on the boat. And he's singing, and we're dancing, and all great. And out of the middle of our dancing, now it's like 1 o'clock at night. 2 men walk I'm watching them walk on the pier, and they come onto the boat. They asked, what's going on? What's going on? What attracted them because of their boat? They heard Shwekey. And Shwekey in Israel, very popular guy. And it was how many years ago? Maybe 20 years ago, 15 years ago?
Like 18 years ago.
18 years ago, okay? But very popular. I think that when he came out, Lachem already, and it was ready to, in every song, as you pass the store, they're playing. Right. So it's very famous. Must have heard something to get a cane on the bed. Now they're on the boat, and one of the rabbis was with us. He had a number of Israeli rabbis. One of them came over to me and says to me, this guy just walking on the boat, he's a famous person on television. He's on TV, Israeli TV. And he's very, very anti-Haredi. Very anti-Frum. Okay. And the other guy is a minister of agriculture, some minister in the Knesset. So the two guys from the government, one guy's a real famous guy, and so on, and very anti. Okay. We go over to him, welcome him, give him a drink, have a drink, come, let's dance, and we start dancing. Now we're dancing, and he's singing, and they're loving it. And little by little, they become part of the group. They become one of us. They're dancing just like us. We're dancing, and they're singing and dancing. And finally, we're walking up, and we're walking, me and Rabbi Yaakov, we're all walking with this guy. And we asked him, what? I see you very emotional when he was singing. He was very emotional when he was saying. He's all from Pongvich. I learned in Pongvich Yeshiva. B'nai Brak. I was born in B'nai Brak. And I'm not, he must have had a Rebbe that, gave him a hard time or something, whatever it may be. And he ran away from him. But if I had known that there were rabbis like you and like here, I probably would still be religious. I said, all the rabbis are like us. You had a bad apple. You had one bad, everyone's like us. And we start talking, and now we're on the pier, we're talking.
Singing Kalbach.
And they start talking about Kalbach, and the group of Kalbach, and he loved this thing and that thing, and going on and on and on. And it was an amazing story that at the end, we talked about making tshuva, and he said, believe Neda, I will never speak bad about it from her again. And one of the rabbis, this Tzvi, what's his name? I forget. Rabbi.
Weiss?
Yes, Rabbi Weiss. Rabbi Weiss, who a big rabbi in Eretz Yisrael, told us that the guy Taka changed, and he never spoke bad about the Levinach Charedim again. From what he changed from? Singing on the Tiberius and sing an achus and a simcha together. That touches the shama to the point that Imamish made tshuva on the spot. It's amazing.
It is amazing.
That's the true story.
One last thing, Rabbi. It is an amazing story. It is, because I kept up with him a little bit afterwards. He sent me a book of Kalbach, a whole thing. One last thing. I know that this table that we're sitting on right now is your dining room table. And somebody mentioned this before, and I think I saw it inside also. The Ben Ish Chai, I think, writes that they used to even take a piece of the table after 120 and put it, with them to show Hashem how important our Shabbat tables could become if we really sit by the table and not just talk about frivolous ideas and about this and what happened and what gratitude to Hashem and singing songs and understanding the songs. How does the youth of today, who are faced with everything, Rabbi, and more than anyone, the technology, the desires, the social media that is so fast and everything is... What would be your advice to somebody who is listening to this music now and opening these Zemiras? What would be is it one step at a time? Is it something that when they come and they don't have to be the Kol Junge Mann to, some of them are Zemiras is for everyone. But what would your advice be to really be merapeh, the anxiety of today, the addictions of today? And many people feel like it's monotonous. Every time it's the same song, it's just a repeat. I'm not understanding what's going on. I'm not a learned person. I just want to appeal to all the people, not just the people that are in KolRom and in yeshiva and have a gift of understanding Hebrew and understanding. What would your advice be for someone like that?
Advice to the boy himself?
To the boy themselves or to the girls themselves.
I understand. I would tell you, ask you, what advice do I give to you in which songs you should be choosing? That's you. I'll leave it for you.
I chose the ones that touched me.
You got the ones that touched you. my advice to them is singing is a introduction to the simcha of Judaism. But I would say that through singing and through these type of nidulim, they should make Kabbalah to learn a little bit of Torah. Because learning Torah, singing is the introduction to Ma'oriyu. And for us who are already in there, it's a way of expressing our betochen and simcha in Hashem. But for the newcomer who has all types of nisyonos and tests that he's facing, he has to use the music, the stage of the music, to learn something, everything. Have a Seder learning. It should be a small Seder learning. Learn a Mishnah a day. Something small, but it could change your whole life.
Rabbi, do you remember we had a celebration, I think it was by Joey Dayan's backyard. There was a guy that showed up to my house a few weeks ago on the basketball court. I was playing ball with a baby in his hand. Do you know that he came to that one that you spoke at? I was singing, he was speaking. It was like a few hundred boys that half of them made decisions to go to yeshiva just from a few hours of singing and speaking. I don't know if you know this. He showed up with his baby a few weeks ago to my basketball court, and he was telling me it changed his whole life by just being in the environment of rabbis like Rabbi Diamond who embraced everyone and sang with everyone. And you spoke about what songs can mean and what, I don't know if the rabbi knows, but I'm saying it on record, that we've seen the change. We've seen the tremendous impact. He came, he's married now. He went to yeshiva. Since that night, he went to learn.
Wow. We had boys, you have to know, all half up the derech, some totally up the derech. And we had a concert of him singing and me mefarish the songs and speaking in between. And I can't tell you how many boys afterwards came over to us, Shiloh's about how getting back into learning. Where CC, they all watched CC for the first time.
You remember clear?
Yeah, I remember that. It was a very big moment then. And they tell me now, years later, and someone came with a baby and his drum and the whole mishpacha. There's no question it's a means to get them back, but like you bringing this, rightly so. But through that, you got them to go to yeshiva or at least have a Seder learning or learn something. Because at the end of the day, learning is the biggest security to say and get close to Hashem. But you need the music to bring them in. And later, to express the happiness and express the bitachon. Like us, we love music, not to become involved in learning, but to express our simcha and bitachon in learning. And bitachon with Hashem and our simcha with Hashem. And they needed to draw them in. It's drawing them in because that's music is the language of all people. Everyone understands the language of music. Not everyone understands the language of Torah yet, but everyone understands the language of music. And you're using the language of music to draw us to Torah. And if you do that, which you are doing, and have been doing all along, I think that this is what puts us flushy, sir, should bring people closer to Shabbos observance and singing and enjoying Shabbos, and through that, hopefully to bring them closer to the Torah always.
Amen.
Then you're not so.
Amen. Thank you so much, Rabbi.